Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei, coming to you live from Beijing on CGTN. Coming up on today's program, China takes measures to beef up cybersecurity with efforts to patch up vulnerabilities of the fast-growing information highway. Operation Red Sea is a crowd pleaser at the 8th Beijing International Film Festival. Dante Lam helmed the war blockbuster. No small feat for a filmmaker. Dante tells us in a sit-down interview the kind of effort it took to shoot a Navy film done on a grand scale. You're watching World Insight. I'm Tian Wei. We start with China's effort to go with the newest development of the information highway. A high-level conference regarding China's cybersecurity is going on in Beijing. The Internet's rapid development is posing a big challenge, some believe, to China's national security. With the largest number of net users in the world, China is taking more measures and serious measures to secure cyberspace.
Without cybersecurity, China's national security is at risk. This was the remark given by President Xi Jinping back in 2016. China has over 772 million internet users. Over half of the entire population serve the information highway, higher than the global average. 2 years ago, President Xi made a series of remarks on cyberspace security and data automation. At a symposium in Beijing in 2016, he stressed that the development of China's internet should meet the expectations and demands of the Chinese people. President Xi also urged authorities to establish unified and effective mechanisms to report risks and share information, and stressed the importance of core technology and talents, which he said were key to China's internet development. In 2017, China's first cybersecurity law went into effect. The Central Cybersecurity Affairs Committee has been established this year and so far has carried out measures to put illegal internet content under regulation. In the past 2 years, the internet has become an information backbone for China's development, with uses in poverty relief and rural education, as well as streamlining administrative procedures.
For a discussion on nurturing better environment in China's cyberspace, we are joined in our Beijing studio Dr. Jay Huang, who is the founding partner of J-Stone Capital, also former managing director of Intel China. Sir, welcome to our program. Good to see you again. And also joining us in Beijing, Lu Chuanying, who is a research fellow at the Shanghai Institute for International Studies and also visiting fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Good to see you, sir. Also joining us in Washington, D.C. in the U.S., Dr. Ernest McDuffie, founder of the Global McDuffie Group. Welcome, Dr. McDuffie. I want to begin with you, Mr. Huang, here in Beijing. Talking about China's cybersecurity, what are some of the priorities that you have in mind as an insider?
I think a couple of things. And first, maybe protect the users' data and privacy, and is another one. And also, very important is the network should be robust enough and to against the hackers' attack. That's another one. I think that's probably the top priority for me.
What about for you, Mr. Lu?
I think there are a couple of things we need to discuss. The first is national security. As people said, if there's no cybersecurity, there's no national security. And the second level is the personal level, personal data and the privacy issues, and as well as something regarding to the cyber warfare. For example, this year is the 5 years anniversary of the Snowden events.
Yes, so exactly. We all remember that case very well, even it's still having an impact today. What about for you, Dr. McDuffie, when it comes to cybersecurity from your perspective? Top priorities.
Sure. In any cybersecurity system, the weakest link is always the human element. I think the most important thing that we can do as a society, because it's been stated that it's really a global problem, the internet is global, is to train and educate the people, the masses, all the people, as you just indicated, in China that are using the internet daily, need to be educated about the threats, the things that could be done to mitigate those threats, and to protect not only themselves, but to protect the integrity of the networks that they operate on.
Here's the thing that I have in mind when it comes to a question. The top question comes to my mind, cybersecurity, is how to balance the nature of internet, which is global, as all of you have mentioned, and then the national security regarded to the internet. How to balance these two factors on different issues? I think that is a very interesting subject, isn't it, Mr. Lu?
Yes, it's a very important how to balance the development and the security issues. I think there are a couple of things we need to take the consideration. For example, the international governance issues. We have the United Nations and other platforms discuss the cybersecurity issues, and we have some progress in the past couple of years.
Some progress, yes, but not that much.
But not
to the
that much.
satisfying degree of everyone, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, with the limited resources, when it comes to agreements that we can tap into, how can countries balance that from your perspective, Mr. Lu?
I think so far it's really hard because the cybersecurity is still evolving. We do not know the full picture of its impact. Just like a couple of the events happened recent years or recent days, we say a lot of the events. So if we do not know the full picture of cybersecurity and how those countries to make agreement on what we need to compromise or make consensus.
That comes to the difficult part, isn't it, Dr. McDuffie? I mean, on the one hand, for example, China and United States, the two sides have one platform to talk about cybersecurity. It's one of the four most important mechanisms of cooperation between the two sides to talk about internet security. But at the same time, the two sides also want to warn each other of any so-called cybersecurity threat from the other side. Well, at the same time, we also see, the roles of hackers and some of the individual impact on this issue. So, Dr. McDuffie, what do you make of that? It seems to be a very complicated picture. You want to know, but then you are not supposed to know.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very complex and complicated environment. There are many levels. The issue of state actors, national security issues are always going to be there, and it is absolutely true that we don't know what the final state of cyber, of the internet is going to be, so we're always in this kind of catch-up mode. But then the other point that was just raised about criminal elements, bad actors that are out there just trying to make money, to steal identity, to steal intellectual property, is a whole nother area where I think international collaboration and cooperation can go a long way to help mitigate that threat. And I think in some respects that's the bigger threat, particularly to the individual user of the internet. That's where they're going to be impacted the most. The national security issues are much more complex than just cybersecurity. So I think the best thing for nations to do is to collaborate at the local law enforcement level to attack the illegal hackers and the bad actors.
I see.
And try to mitigate that as much as possible.
But Dr. McDuffie, if I could follow up with a real example, what is going on in the United States, give the example of the Facebook. We have heard about the hearing, and we have some glimpse of the very lengthy hearings over the days. Apparently, the governance has not been able to catch up with the development of the technology. And those that are responsible for drafting the law do not know exactly what has been happening, not to mention how to govern what has been happening. I wonder whether that is a sporadic case or it's very much alike for governments around the world when it comes to sophistication of this issue. And therefore, if the United States, as one of the most advanced markets and earliest developed market, do not have a solution yet, can the others find the solutions? I want to put that question to you first, Dr. McDuffie, and then I'm going to do that to the other two Chinese guests as well.
Yeah, it's true that we were kind of first, we kind of invented the whole thing, and we're still struggling with it. I think all nations are going to be in that same boat of struggling with the pace of advancing technology. I think the possibility of solutions can come from anywhere, because the problem is ubiquitous, the problem's everywhere, so you can find a solution everywhere. But beware of the silver bullet solution. I don't think you're going to come up with any one technical solution that solves your problem. It's going to be a combination of technological solutions and human training and education. The Facebook issue in the United States was much more a user issue where they didn't understand the potential of what was happening with the information that they were voluntarily giving up to Facebook. So there's an education and training process that must go forward hand in hand and continue to evolve with the technology.
I'm not sure whether it's just the consumer's issue, it's also the business's issue, how much responsible they are responsible for those that are getting onto the platform. Having said that, though, Mr. Huang, I'm sure in China, as Dr. McDuffie said, it's no silver bullet. So different circumstances, different solutions. What's likely to be the Chinese way of probing for the solutions?
I think we cannot just rely on the users and to take responsibility for this, because for our life, we all know we're so dependent on the internet service providers. I think a service provider should have their social responsibility, and they should stand up and to make sure and they protect every one of us and the privacy and also doing some monitoring, make sure and then the illegal action on the internet, on the cyberspace can be stopped, and then before they make an impact and then or harm on our life. I think they have a responsibility and to do lots of work.
But then here is another dilemma. If you do too much policies regarding governance, the internet still needs to develop. It's an industry, right?
Yeah.
You need to give it space to grow. And particularly when it's this industry that you still do not know how much potential it could eventually have. But then if you don't govern, or govern only to a lesser degree, which is what is going on right now, to a certain extent because of lack of sophistication of the legislators, then you do see issues like this pop up all the time. By the way, Facebook is not just one time. It has been warned several times, and yet it could be able to brush it off to the lawmakers by saying, well, we are making the effort, but not necessarily so to the degree that they should. So I want to go to you as well, Mr. Lu. So what about that balance? What about that dilemma?
I think we need to, this phenomenon also raised the question to the governance or capability of the government, because government sometimes is far from their technology, from their companies. So when this case is actually very innovative, right? But it's beyond the capability of the regulation of the government.
Right.
So when you need to governing this kind of issues, you need to, I think the first thing is you need to reach agreement between the companies and the government. Where is the red line?
Right, and it has to be agreement in the interests of the consumers rather than just the stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Let me move on to another topic, which is exactly what is going on these days. We heard a lot of debate about ZTE, the case itself. Of course, that's a sporadic case. It's an individual case regarding a Chinese company in its relationship with its cooperators in the United States. Now, it has led to, Mr. Huang, a debate here in China about how about basic research? How about making chips on your own? How about making sure that you could be independent from all the other influence from outside the country, so that the business can have what they consider as so-called a safe growth, guaranteed growth. But another dilemma posed, that is, Mr. Huang, the world today is a globalized world. A smartphone, you got components coming from a dozen countries. And it's impossible for any country to produce all the devices, everything of it. So that's another dilemma. On the one hand, you want to make sure you're free of others' nuances. On the other hand, you also have even a smartphone coming from all over the world, the device. How do you see that? I mean, you used to work for a chip maker in a way.
I think number one, any sovereign country or nation, they have the right to build their own industry. They have the right. Secondly, I think you're right. You said very correctly. Is we're living a globalized world, and then we're so interdependent on each other. You look at today's world, and it's very hard to find any country they can say, I supplied, for example, semiconductor chips 100% by my own country. There's no such a country exists. Even United States, they also rely on other countries to provide them some of the chips and some of the even equipment, material, etc. China is the same. So I think we need to make sure and we have this interdependence. This is a good and win-win for every country. Secondly, and any country, if they want to develop their own technology, they have the right to do so. And the other countries shouldn't try to punish of them for doing that.
Dr. McDuffie, what is your view?
So it's a global environment. Just as has been said that no man is an island, today no country is an island. The global supply chain demands that we interact with each other in order for technology to progress. So you have to operate in terms of partnerships, public-private partnerships, partnerships across national boundaries, partnerships between government, industry, academia, and individuals. All have to work together. You're absolutely correct. You can't rely on just the users to fix the problem, or the internet providers to fix the problem, or government to fix the problem. It's everybody's problem, and we all have to work together in a collaborative and cooperative way to reach a level playing field globally. There's no way that you can do it in isolation. It just doesn't work that way anymore.
Right. Mr. McDuffie usually say something very diplomatically correct. But Mr. Liu, I want to invite particularly given the current circumstances. Mr. Liu, I want to ask also your opinion about this. One country's basic research is well-established collaboration with all the other countries in terms of making productions for the future, and also the so-called competition that exists among all the countries when it comes to technology development.
Yeah, I think for the past several decades, the world make agreement that is globalization, that all the products are made by global supply chain. So I think the state also made agreement. We support this global companies to doing their business globally. But as you mentioned, just recently, because the global environment, the international system under some kind of the unstable factors. So this put those global companies into a very hard situations, not just ZTE. I think if ZTE is the one case, and there will be more such kind of technology companies become into the same positions. They work between the state. So I think we need to urge at least the government between China and the U.S. as well as some other big states to reconsideration of the globalization and the relationship between their national security and technology independence.
Dr. Huang?
I think we are living in a globalized world, and then we are actually collaborate and cooperate and multiple ways. I think this is a healthy trend for the global economy and for the multinational and the companies in China and the United States and in the world. We should continue to do that. I think this is the right way to benefit the global economy as well.
All right. Before we go, I have very limited time. We do hear from the ongoing spring meetings of the World Bank and the IMF, including coming from the World Bank president, talking about innovation in the payment system here in China that has been prospering over the past few years, and hoping that case can also, in a way, be able to reflect it in the other economies. Dr. Huang, do you think that is possible?
I think it's possible, and also China can provide a special role in that, because in China we have over 500 million people using mobile payment, which is already exceeded the United States and the population. And then China accumulate a lot of experiences and know-how. I think this can be benefited for other countries and in the world.
All right.
Yes, I think that China has a lot of the innovative creations, like the AI and some other internet technology innovations. So I think also not just the IMF, but also some other UN bodies, like some organization from UN want to cooperate with Chinese companies to use Chinese experience to help the world, the rest of the world, to
particularly
benefit.
the developing countries,
Yes.
including some of developed economies as well on this sector. We want to thank the three of you for coming over to our discussion. Jay Huang, Lu Chuanying, and also Ernest McDuffie. It's very important that we got guests coming from all over the world to talk about the issue of common future. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. And stay with us here. You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Still to come on our program. It's a hit at this year's Beijing International Film Fest, Operation Red Sea. Get up close with Dante Lam, the man behind the blockbuster. That conversation with the director right after this break. Welcome back. I'm Tian Wei. You're watching World Insight, coming to you Monday to Friday on CGTN. It's been a great movie season for film buffs in the Chinese capital. It got better with Sunday's opening of the Beijing International Film Festival, which featured a wide selection of pictures. 10 Tiantan Awards will be handed out to the best of the best. Let's take a look.
第8届北京国际电影节开幕。
It's a gala for film industry professionals. Red carpet rolled out, fans gathered, stars shone. For 8 years, the Beijing International Film Festival has been bringing together filmmakers from China and around the world. The festival has become a window of vibrant Chinese culture. It's a week-long offering of various films to moviegoers, a total of 328 films, a wide variety of Chinese films, restored classics, a Wes Anderson showcase, and an Ingmar Bergman retrospective. One of the biggest highlights of the festival is the Tiantan Awards. This year, Hong Kong director Wong Kar-wai, world-acclaimed flag bearer of New Wave, is the head of the 7-person jury.
一部好的电影。
I remember drinking soy milk at a stall the other day, and at the bottom of the bowl, it wrote, "I'll grind soy milk till the end of my life." I'm really moved by that devotion, and I think it's the same with films. Do what you know and make it perfect.
This year, 659 films from 71 countries and regions were entries to the Tiantan Awards. 15 films have been selected as finalists and await the decision of the all-star jury. The potential winners include 2 Chinese productions, Hold Your Hands, an art house film famous for its traditional architecture and ethnic traditions, and Operation Red Sea, a patriotic action movie. Operation Red Sea made about 3.5 billion yuan at the domestic box office during its run. It tells a story based on the Chinese Navy's evacuation operation in Yemen in 2015. Filmed with Dante Lam's special style, the military epic is one of China's biggest blockbusters in recent years.
Earlier, I sat down with Dante Lam, the film director of exactly the Operation Red Sea, to learn more about his passion for work and life, and of course, the movie itself.
拍完这个戏的时候，没有想象过到现在有这样的反应啊。
After I finished the movie, Operation Red Sea, I did not imagine it would be a box office hit. In fact, as a director, a film with a good word of mouth is the most important thing. But of course, the box office is based on its reputation. For me, I am more excited when I hear someone talking about my movies rather than just seeing the box office figures.
票房来说更兴奋。
I know that you work together with the Chinese Navy
Yeah.
on the preparation for this, and they helped you throughout the process. What was that cooperation like for you?
跟海军碰面的时候他们就想把那个也门切桥这件事情去还原这个故事。
When I met the Navy, they wanted us to reenact the Yemen evacuation. At that time, I asked them one question: how much support can the Navy offer to embellish the story?
去呈现这个故事。
That's a great question coming from a movie director, I would say.
然后他们就很坚定地说
They responded,
I give you everything.
Wow.
Oh.
That's a great promise.
Yes. 这个我就觉得听完之后，我觉得那我就
When I heard that, I relaxed, realizing I could just focus on the story itself. This is the first time I have dealt with this genre. I went to the military port, stood on our warships, and inspected the most advanced equipment. I got a sense of how advanced China's technology has become.
So they provided you with tanks, and they provided you with the fleets, cargoes, and I also heard some Humvees. So how does that work? I mean, all of these things work together. It's a gigantic project, I would say, for any movie director.
大部分的戏都在外面，所以
Most of the film was shot in Morocco, except for the scene with the warships, which was shot in China. The scenes with the Humvees and the tanks were all shot in Morocco. In fact, the vehicles were all provided by the Moroccan military. Of course, some other equipment was sourced from other places. For example, the troop crawler was from the UK. So this movie brought together the technical power of many different countries.
Joint military efforts, it seems.
Yes, that's my dream.
It is. It's a dream come true, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you think about that, so many support, logistic support, good for you. Yet at the same time, a lot of pressure for you to make the best out of it.
这个电影是要去到这么远一个地方拍。
The film was shot in such a distant set that I brought in a crew of about 500 people. This type of movie was also a new experience for me. I often worried about how to portray the movie in the proper time period.
能像今天这个时代的一种电影的感觉。
Can I say you are very brave?
Yeah, I have a brave heart.
I think you do. I think you do. So how?
可能要天天面对很多。
Every day, we encountered many problems, but persistence is key. Never give up.
从不放弃。
In Morocco, in the desert.
Yes.
Sandstorms.
Yes.
All the time.
The weather is so bad. The living everything is conditions very bad. Doesn't matter. We keep going.
You and your cast and the whole crew took a lot of efforts. Some of you even injured, including with the cast. What exactly, at that time you could say, well, always let's be strong. But it's easier said than done.
我知道他们每一个人心里面都是有很多不舒服。
I know all the crew wasn't comfortable at that time. Every department and everyone had their problems, and I could not take care of everyone. I just guided them through the steps that had to be completed to accomplish the task. Frankly speaking, there are some people who really could not persevere and quit halfway through filming. But I think the team, especially the actors, most of whom are new, would have sacrificed a golden opportunity if they gave up halfway. So we all bit the bullet, clenched our teeth, and moved on.
佢哋都有一種可以叫非一般演出。
Very good. 好睇。 This is the spirit behind the movie.
At the end of the day, when you wrap it up, did you say anything to the cast?
I'm proud of them.
As simple as that.
The whole crew. Yes, this is so powerful.
And how did they respond to you? I guess they
very
cried.
appreciate.
More movies to come
Yeah.
with the cast.
Yeah.
The story is a wonderful one because it was based on a real-life incident about how the Chinese Navy helped to take out those people who were trying to get hold of the hostages and bring the hostages back home. It's a very encouraging story, and yet in the movie some say it's all about actions.
本来的故事那个也门真实那个事件就没有去到我们电影现在这种情况啊。
In fact, the Yemen evacuation incident did not occur as it did on screen. However, the Navy had prepared a contingency plan in case of an emergency. So during that time, their special team always stood by. And the movie does not represent the actual evacuation, but rather an evacuation under a worst-case scenario.
他们预估会发生的东西，我就把它呈现出来。
A lot of visual scenes, explosions, flying limbs, blood. Will that bring the box office, or will that demonstrate to people the realities of war? Why would you go really bloody?
其实这个电影啊是一个战争片。
This movie is a war drama. I'm reflecting on the realities of war. War movies are meant to impress the audience. Although the theme of the movie is war, I wanted to express the film as anti-war. Whether you are a soldier with a similar experience or not, it captures a fear they feel when they enter a war zone, a fear that will scare the audience. I hope this war movie, in addition to its commercial success, can invoke a deeper meaning. For me, I do not want war to happen, but sometimes you have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Chinese patriotic movies. Over the past few years, it seems it has already taken on a new face, some say, even with the movie you just produced. For example, earlier there was the Wolf Warrior 2, and there we go with the Operation Mekong and also Operation Red Sea. People say this is a combination of patriotism combined with Hollywood blockbuster production skills. Is that what you're looking at?
你说的那种对我来说是一种正能量的电影。
The movie you describe has a very positive message. As a director, I chose the kind of performance techniques and attitudes that can be used to convey this positive energy to the audience. In fact, both Operation Red Sea and Operation Mekong convey the same message, a sense of mission. Whether you are a soldier, a police officer, or an ordinary person like me, we all have our mission. My mission is to provide the audience with a quality movie.
But some say in the movie, the Chinese guys never die. They're like the Monkey King. They're all powerful. No matter what happens, no matter how strong the terrorists are, they are gonna win.
但是电影是也有一种带有一种
Movies have a heroic romanticism. It's like a belief. As an audience, when you get attached to a protagonist who encounters difficulties and ultimately fails to achieve success, you'll get a sense of dread. However, I hope to show the realities in Operation Red Sea. So I will portray sacrifices. Not everything will be completely perfect. Sometimes sacrifice is inevitable. Indeed, sacrifice is also contagious.
所以在 Operation Red Sea is not a Monkey King.
Well, after all these years and putting so much into designing the story and the scenes and the production, what are going to touch you? I really wondered.
其实我每一次去想一个故事的时候，重点是有没有一个点是跟你的心是能连上的。其实
Every time I think about a story, I think the key is if the content can touch your heart. I'm filming something that is emotional or worthy of praise because this concept can even touch me. The audience cannot be moved if you yourself cannot be moved. In fact, every time you start a story, the most difficult thing is to find such a concept. Sometimes you can get a writer's block in the search of such a concept only to give up. At this moment, I gravitate towards movies with a more positive tone, because these kinds of movies can inspire many people. Besides making films, there are still a lot of things I have not tried, a lot of things I really want to do. Before I was a director, I wanted to be a chef. I've always been trying to make desserts.
That sounds fun.
I always wanted to learn.
That's very different, of course, from what you do professionally.
Because making movies is so stressful, I like to unwind by quietly cooking something in the kitchen. Sometimes while filming, I cook for the team. When we filmed Operation Mekong, for example, I often asked the group to come to my room to eat. Sometimes I like to talk with the screenwriter about the script while I was cooking. I think this casual approach was more conducive than formal negotiation.
Master chef of both the food and the story. There we go. But before we go, I do want to ask you a little bit about your personal experiences. Starting doing detective stories, police stories, action movies, and then you transform yourself from only the deputy director to the director and now doing war movies. What has this process mean to you? I mean, it seems that Hong Kong embraced John Woo at the very beginning. Everybody's like that, and then move on, and now you become something that's quite impressive all over the world. So, how did that happen?
I think I can divide my experiences into two stages. The first one is when I first started as a director. I always wanted to prove that I could do anything, that I am capable. However, during this stage, I did not communicate with my heart. Inevitably, it did not go down very well. So I stopped for 2 years. At that time, I did not need to create anything. So I had time to reflect and ask myself some questions. It was a good experience for me. And after those 2 years, I reworked a lot of ideas and started pursuing them with my heart. I have been in the second phase ever since.
Anli waited for 8 years. You only 2 years. You're fast. You are fast.
Before I became a director, I was especially impressed with action movies. However, at the beginning of my career, I kept overthinking things. I knew I could grasp the flow of action movies, but maybe I was young and rebellious. I never attempted them. In fact, my action movies back then were not very good. So from the second stage onwards, I chose to do what I liked, what I could grasp. I wanted to do it better. I wanted to project before I began a new one.
You want to save the best to have fun, I guess.
Yes. Yes, you're right. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lam, for being with us. Once again, great congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Dante Lam, film review director. Operation Mekong, Operation Red Sea, both are his works. That is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us World Inside CGTN into your search engine or check out our YouTube channel. Also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Sina Weibo. From me, Tian Wei, and everyone on the World Inside team, thanks for watching and tune in again next time for insights across China and around the world. Good night.